Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos. Today's block is called Flowers. It finishes at 12 inches. Here's the diagram, and here are 4 blocks set block to block. This is a 6x6 grid. Here are the patches. Patch A is a 2-inch by 4-inch finished rectangle. We cut 4.5 inch by 2.5 inch patches. We need 2 patches each of the dark fabric and the light fabric. Here are the AccuQuilt dies that will cut this shape, and each of the other shapes have AccuQuilt dies listed as well. Patch B is a 2-inch finished half square triangle. We cut 2 7/8 inch squares, cut them in half once on the diagonal for 2 patches. We'll need 16 patches for the background and 8 patches each for the light and the dark fabrics. Patch C is a 2-inch finished square. We cut 2.5 inch squares. We need 4 patches, which is 4 squares for the background, and 2 each for the light and the dark fabrics. And patch D is a 4-inch finished square. We cut 4.5 inch squares, and we need 1 square for the center, which is yellow in this case. Here are all the cutting instructions for each of the fabrics. For the half square triangles, which is patch B, I've divided them up into options you have. You can cut squares to make 2 at a time half square triangles, or cut those squares in half diagonally for patches, or you can cut larger squares to make half square triangles 8 at a time. But whatever you do for the background fabric, you'll do the same thing for the light and the dark fabrics, because you're going to be making half square triangles out of these 3 fabrics. Here are the patches, and we have light and dark blues and yellow for the center. This is patch A, the rectangles. These are the half square triangles, and I have cut patches with my AccuQuilt. All of these were cut with the AccuQuilt. These are the squares, patch C, and this is patch D, the center square. The first thing we're going to do is make all of our half square triangles. If you look on step 1, it says we're going to make 8 each of these half square triangle units. For patches, you'll simply take a background and an accent fabric and stitch them together just like this. You stitch on this edge and press your seams open. If you want to know how to do half square triangles 8 at a time, there's going to be a short tutorial now that will show you how to do that. We'll take the light fabric, and on the back we're going to draw some lines. First, we're going to draw diagonal lines across the diagonal in both of them. That's 2 lines. The next line will be a vertical line down the middle and a horizontal line down the middle. Take these fabrics and put them right sides together. Match up all the sides. We're going to stitch 1/4 inch on each side of the diagonal lines. So you'll have 2 lines of stitching here. You turn it, and then you'll have 2 lines of stitching here. We've done our stitching on both sides of each diagonal line. Here's what it looks like from the back. Now we're going to cut every line that we drew. So it's 4 different lines, and we'll cut each line. Now we open them up, and we have our half square triangle. We're going to press these open and then trim them. The 2 at a time half square triangles are similar to the 8 at a time. We take our square, and on the back of the light fabric we draw a diagonal line, and then we stitch a scant 1/4 inch on each side of the diagonal line. And then we just cut on the diagonal line. And we have our half square triangle that we will trim down. All of the half square triangles will need to be trimmed down to 2.5 inches. We put the diagonal line on the ruler along the seam line of the half square triangle. And we're checking all the sides. So this side has enough fabric I can cut off. I can cut off here, and here's the 2.5 mark, and I can cut some off there and some off here. So I'm going to cut these top 2 right now. And flip this over and just line up your 2.5 inch mark now and your diagonal line, and then trim the rest. Just a slight small amount that you're going to trim off, and do that to all of your half square triangles. For step 2, we're going to take the half square triangles we just made, and we're going to make 4 of the side units. And the side units look like this. You just follow the diagram that is in step 2. So you'll sew these 2 together and these 2, press the seams, and then sew the 2 rows together. For the second set of side units, we're going to put them together like this. So it just goes in the opposite direction. So these 2 together and these 2, press the seams and sew the rows together, and you'll make 2 like this. Then in step 3, we're going to make the corner units. And these are the corner units. We're using the rectangles and the squares. We'll sew these 2 together. We'll sew these 2 together, press the seams, and then sew the rectangle to the 2 squares. You'll make 2 of these units and 2 of these units. Now we have our center unit and we have our corner units. We're going to put those in where they belong. And we have our 2 different side units, and we have to watch the placement, the color placement, because these have to match. So that doesn't match. This matches. Then these should match. So this is one part of the flower, or one petal, I guess. Now we have our flower. We'll take the top 3 units and sew them together. Same with the middle and the bottom. Press the seams and then sew all the rows together. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and while you're at it, click the bell to be notified of future videos.